a year. Aaron Rodgers is 50.3, Russell Wilson 49. Arizona's Kyler Murray has the second most guaranteed money at $189 million. So look at those numbers and you can figure out where Lamar Jackson could land. A fashion update for Maryland football fans. Script Terps is back and for good. The university made the uniform change permanent via social media, saying Script Terps will be the program's full-time uniform this season and beyond. This first look debuted in 1982 and stayed throughout the 80s, a different version for 10 years in the early 2000s. Fans love it. Michael Locksley is a big reason for the return. Maryland's worn the Script Terps at least once a season since his return as head coach in 2019, and AD Damon Evans cited fan demand for one reason to make the switch back.
Thank you, Morgan. It's a special night for Jeopardy fans. One of the contestants is a hometown face. Daniel Cherokee spoke with our morning team about his experience being on the show.
It was surreal, really. Like, I mean, just everything looked, you know, they say to kind of lower your expectations, like between like how TV is made and like what you see on TV. Yeah. But even just being on there, it was just like, okay, everything meets the expectations. Yeah. Like this, everything just looks so, just so sleek and official and just like a dream.
If you'd like to cheer Daniel on, you can do so. Peabody Heights Brewery is hosting a watch party tonight at 7 o'clock. Good luck, Daniel. We hope you win big. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, another child is killed in Baltimore this weekend. We investigate the death of a 12-year-old and press city leaders for answers. Also, Maryland's congressional delegation says the crime crisis has gotten out of hand. We hear their frustration with the continued violence in Baltimore.
A mass shooting in North Baltimore. 4 people shot in the middle of the day. An update on the wounded as they recover in area hospitals. And the city's crime crisis touches another family. What we're learning about a 12-year-old shot and killed over the weekend in South Baltimore. And new information about a deadly fiery crash in Baltimore over the weekend. What we know about the victims.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6. Now, a Fox 45 News alert in 3, 2, 1.
Gun violence breaks out on the streets of Baltimore today. As we come on the air right now, a total of 6 people have been shot. 1 of them was killed. And that deadly shooting happened overnight in South Baltimore, where a 45-year-old man was found shot to death. Just before noon today, police responded to a mass shooting in North Baltimore. This is in the Old Goucher neighborhood. Police tell us 4 people were shot. The victims were all men, a 22-year-old, 32-year-old, and 36-year-old. Police are working to identify the 4th person. Now, they're all expected to survive. Now, as of this morning, Baltimore police reported 82 homicides in the city with 158 non-fatal shootings this year. Last year at this time, police said there were 98 people killed and 203 non-fatal shootings. Mary.
And over the weekend, a 12-year-old boy in South Baltimore became the latest young victim of the city's crime crisis. Keith Daniels is learning more about him.
Well, police have identified the boy. His name is Jalen Richards. School officials confirmed the 12-year-old was in the 6th grade at Westport Academy. And tonight, Jalen is one of the city's latest and one of the city's youngest homicide victims. Now, we're showing this photo of Jalen from the website Murder Inc. Someone shot and killed Jalen at about 9 o'clock Saturday night. It happened on Mizell Court in South Baltimore. Police Commissioner Michael Harrison says they did recover what appears to be assault rifle casings on the ground at the scene. The boy suffered from several gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead later at the hospital. Police are releasing few details about exactly what happened, but the commissioner did say this at the scene.
A shooter produced a firearm, an assault rifle type firearm, and began firing. Struck this young victim as the victim was running away. At some point, the victim collapsed about a block behind where we are.
Well, the suspect in this shooting remains on the loose. If you have any information about this case, you can call Metro Crime Stoppers. Remember, you can remain anonymous and could be eligible for a reward. Reporting tonight from City Police Headquarters, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Well, Mayor Scott held a public safety roundtable today. The mayor says the city will be doubling down on plans to work with community groups to tackle the violence. City State's Attorney Ivan Bates was there as well.
It's got to be the parents as well. So we're going to be looking to find ways what we can do to make sure we hold the parents accountable, because they're your children. You have to raise your children.
We have adults in our city who are failing to set an example for our youth and failing to properly spend time and invest in them.
But we also know that this isn't just happening. Multiple students were killed and shot in January. So why is the enforcement of the curfew and these conversations about addressing juvenile violence just now happening when this has been a problem for months?
We'll say this, Mackenzie, and I'll say this again. You weren't with us last week, but enforcing the curfew isn't simply about violence, right? And you're here, and these partners know this very well. Enforcing curfew is about doing what we have to do to keep young people safe, period.
Well, we also spoke with Maryland's congressional leaders today. Congressman Kwesi Mfume says more needs to be done to stop the bloodshed.
It's a damn shame that this continues to take place. It's a damn shame that it's out of control. And it's a damn shame that most of us don't have answers to it because it is so complex.
In terms of law enforcement, Senator Cardin and I have been working with the Justice Department to get more U.S. attorneys to Baltimore and get more ATF officers to Baltimore to address the issue of so many guns on the streets.
Well, tonight at 7:30, Mayor Scott will deliver his State of the City address. You can watch it live on foxbaltimore.com. Tune into our news at 10 for a complete recap. And here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number one, new information tonight in a deadly crash in Baltimore over the weekend. Police responded to the scene on Liberty Heights and North Hilton Avenue just after 10:30 last night for a 2-car crash. A 20-year-old woman and a 25-year-old man were rushed to the hospital in critical condition, while a third victim, a 61-year-old man, was pronounced dead at the scene. No word tonight on what caused that crash. Number 2, a woman was carjacked, thrown into the trunk of her own vehicle, and then dumped into Curtis Creek by kidnappers this weekend. According to the Anne Arundel County Police, the victim told police that at 2:30 Saturday morning, she was approached by a man and a woman while dropping off a friend. The victim says the woman forced her out of the car and into her trunk. The suspects then drove away before stopping on a bridge above Curtis Creek and throwing the woman into the water. The suspects drove off in the victim's 2012 Mercedes 550. Number 3, police in Montgomery County successfully talk a teen out of jumping from an overpass. Over the weekend, police said they encountered a 16-year-old who was threatening to jump from an overpass in Aspen Hill. A number of agents responded, were able to get a hold of the teen without incident. Well, a heads up, if you think you're late filing your taxes, you're not. Tomorrow is actually tax day. The deadline was pushed to the 18th due to Washington, D.C.'s celebration of Emancipation Day. And while you have until tomorrow, you still have the chance to file for an extension to both federal and state taxes. Maryland State Comptroller Brooke Learman met with City Council members to talk about their priorities to mark her first 3 months in office. The comptroller toured the Bromo Arts District this afternoon as part of her tour of the 11 comptrollers' office branches throughout the state. There she pledged the state's support to entertainment here and across Maryland.
The arts and entertainment sector in Maryland is an incredibly important part of our economy, in addition to providing a great reason to live in the state. And so as comptroller, I'm excited to make sure that our artists are supported, our arts institutions are thriving.
As the state accelerates its $15 minimum wage increase tonight, Baltimore businesses are bracing for how higher costs will affect their bottom line. For small businesses, the wage hike was previously scheduled for 2026, but will now roll out later this year. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor spoke with local store owners about the change.
Well, with the cost of just about everything going up these days, now the cost of labor is going up too, causing some small businesses in Baltimore to fear for their futures. In a city filled with blocks of blight, small businesses offer a bright spot, even in the most deserted of districts.
As a small business, it's always a struggle.
Dwight Campbell owns Kaju on Howard Street downtown. Many warned him his plant-based ice cream shop would suffer amid a lack of foot traffic, but word of his delicious guilt-free treats have traveled fast.
We are blessed that we have a product that people want, and that makes it a little bit easier.
But now on the heels of a global pandemic and as the business is still bearing the weight of record high inflation, Campbell says Maryland's looming minimum wage increase will cause additional burden.
It's going to impact us.
One Campbell says some small businesses won't survive.
For some, it's going to have dire consequences.
They actually raised this minimum wage, or accelerated the increase in the minimum wage at a treacherous moment in economic history.
According to economist Anaban Basu, the timing couldn't be worse. The Fair Wage Act, backed and signed by Governor Wes Moore, will speed up when Maryland hits its $15 minimum wage from 2026 for small businesses to 2024. At the same time, many economists fear the nation will start to enter a recession.
If you add a recession to that mix, I think what you're going to see is more people are going to start losing their jobs.
And now that timeline has been condensed a whole lot more. It makes us now have to scramble. This is a Mexican cacao.
With plans of opening a second location, Campbell says he'll have to recalculate his costs of doing business and potentially pass some of the price hikes off to customers.
Yes, I wish we had some more time, but I do understand.
Now, state figures estimate that this minimum wage increase will affect about 160,000 Maryland workers. In Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
We are following breaking news. A grand jury finds officers were justified in the killing of Jalen Walker. Hear from the state's attorneys general. And the growing war of words between the president and the top Republican over the debt ceiling.
And we've got some clouds on the way overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. Temperatures falling down into the 50s and 40s. I'm going to let you know when we're going to have temperatures back into the 80s again, though, in my Weather Authority forecast.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
A grand jury in Ohio has concluded police were justified in their use of force in the death of 25-year-old Jalen Walker last summer. A group of 8 officers shot at Jalen Walker in Akron, Ohio, saying that he failed to stop when pulled over and that they heard the sound of a shot during a brief car chase. Now, police say Walker then tried to run away on foot. Officers then fired at Walker, who was unarmed. A medical examiner says Walker was shot at least 40 times. The state's attorney general addressed the decision.
The grand jury just a little while ago issued what is called a no bill, meaning that there will be no state criminal action, no charges at the state level. That does not resolve any potential civil action that might be brought for wrongful death.
Walker's death drew national attention from a number of groups, including the NAACP. The civil rights organization even asked the Justice Department to investigate the young man's death in 2022. Mary.
Okay, thank you. Taking a look now at the Fox box, an investigation underway in Kansas City after a homeowner shot a 16-year-old who rang his doorbell. Authorities say the teen was picking up his brother and knocked on the wrong house. The teen has been identified as Ralph Yarl. He is recovering in the hospital. An evacuation order has been lifted in Indiana following a fire at a recycling plant. Health officials were monitoring toxic smoke from the fire. They now say the air is safe to breathe. Twitter CEO says the U.S. government has, quote, full access to direct messages sent on the platform. Twitter may introduce an encryption service. SpaceX scrubs its first launch of the biggest rocket ever built. The 400-foot Starship was set to take off from Texas this morning, but a problem with its first stage booster was detected. The next try will be Wednesday. Time is running short for leaders in Washington to address the debt ceiling. As national correspondent Atra El-Nashar reports, it's been almost 2 months since the president and Speaker of the House met to talk about the issue.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy taking the debt ceiling fight to Wall Street.
Our national debt is too high, far too high.
Attacking President Biden, who insists Congress pass a clean debt ceiling increase, as they've done dozens of times before.
A no strings attached debt limit increase will not pass.
House Republicans insist a one-year debt ceiling increase be tied to new limits on federal spending, taking back unspent COVID funds, and enacting GOP policies on energy and work requirements for government benefits. But Republicans haven't put together a formal budget plan, and the president says he won't negotiate with McCarthy until he has one. Congressional Democrats backing up the White House's call for a standalone increase, calling McCarthy's stock exchange speech political theater.
There's a time to discuss what kind of cuts folks are looking for or taxes they want to raise. It's called a budget. It shouldn't be part of this conversation.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer pushing back on McCarthy's plan to raise the debt ceiling to last one more year.
Why would anyone want to undergo this crisis again and again and again?
It would punt the issue into the center of the 2024 presidential race, setting it up to be even more politically charged than it is now. In the latest Economist YouGov poll, President Biden has a 42% approval rating on jobs and the economy, with 50% disapproval among U.S. adults. When asked specifically about his handling of inflation or prices, only 36% approve and 56% disapprove. Polled on McCarthy's overall job performance, 40% approve and 33% disapprove. A default could occur sometime this summer when the Treasury is expected to run out of options for paying the nation's bills. Triggering a default, economists agree, would be catastrophic, and one leaders in Washington can't agree on how to avoid. I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
Well, right now, a live look at Baltimore County's council meeting. This evening, the council members will take up the nomination of retired Colonel Robert McCullough to be the next Baltimore County Police Chief. County Executive Johnny Olszewski made the announcement earlier this month. McCullough's approval is expected with his swearing-in ceremony tomorrow. We'll have the results of that vote tonight at 10.
All right, here we go. Taking a look at the Fox triple cast this evening. Looking great as the sun is beginning to set over the Mile 1 Towson cam in Towson on the lower portion of your screen. Although we do have a few extra clouds, and on the Toyota East Harbor sky cam, some breaks of blue. But there's also the extra clouds coming in the sky, and that's because of that latest weather maker. Actually gave us a few showers last night and continues to spin off to our north and west on the HD radar, with rain, even snow across the Great Lakes. Around here, though, 65. It's just pleasant weather after highs at 80 yesterday. Winds out of the west at 16, keeping temperatures right near 70 this afternoon. Humidity nice and low at 34%. Humidity comes down even a tick lower tomorrow, and the winds may pick up a little bit, up to about 30 miles an hour in gusts. So what that's going to mean for you is there's a fire weather watch for the entire, well, almost the entire state of Maryland. It includes our entire area. So you're going to need to take any burning outside tomorrow, move it to a day when the humidity is higher and the breezes are lower. Actually, middle of the week will be a lot better for that type of yard cleanup, especially those rural areas where folks may burn some of that yard trash. Temperatures in the low and mid 60s right now. Actually, 11 degrees lower than 24 hours ago here in Baltimore, 16 degrees down at Westminster. Look at these temperatures. They just fall off the map. 30 degrees colder than 24 hours ago. We're at Oakland. It's 37. Could even see some wet flakes there tonight. Around here, it's just going to be some clouds with the temperatures now in the mid to upper 60s. There's a big weather maker spiraling over portions of the Midwest and the Great Lakes. Even some winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings continuing for northern portions of Michigan, all the way to Detroit, Chicago, getting some snow showers and flurries. Breezes will pick up as a core of this system moves off to our north, and even cooler temperatures yet than what we saw today for tomorrow. That then lifts out and things will warm up by the end of the week. So future scan overnight takes you down well into the 40s to around 50 along the 95 corridor, and then for tomorrow afternoon into the low and mid 60s with a few patchy clouds and a good breeze going. I'm going to let you know how long the cooler air sticks around and when we could have some highs in the 80s again. My Weather Authority forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Severe weather in Arkansas over the weekend gave us this unique image. It's called rainbow lightning, and it's rare to capture on camera. You need the right weather conditions, and you have to be looking in the right direction at precisely the right time. Winter's not done yet, at least not in Kalamazoo, Michigan. An inch or two of wet snow is expected on grassy areas today.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
Divisions over arming teachers. I look into both sides of a debate that's been reignited after recent school shootings.
Well, right now, a live look at Baltimore County Council's meeting as retired Colonel Robert McCullough has just been confirmed as the next chief of Baltimore County Police. He will be the first African American to lead the department. A swearing-in ceremony will be held tomorrow. Well, weeks after a school mass shooting in Tennessee, lawmakers there are advancing a bill that would allow teachers to carry a concealed handgun on school grounds. The National Desk's Dee Dee Gatton reports on how recent shootings have reignited the debate over arming America's teachers.
With lawmakers divided, some educators tell me their views and those of families personally impacted by gun violence should be taken into account.
In some sense, yeah, firearms at least can make individuals feel more safe. And then I'm also thinking, like, how liable am I if I am trying to take down a target and then accidentally kill one of my kids?
Cedarville University's Dean of the School of Education, Dr. Kevin Jones, spent years as an elementary school teacher and speaks to both positions on arming teachers in the classroom. When asked if he would be comfortable with that as a teacher today,
I don't know.
As families of those killed in school shootings continue to grieve, some have pushed for securing schools to keep our students safe.
There should be single point of entry into a building. Second, all doors need to be locked on campus. How could a shooter just run inside of a school? Third, we need armed guards. Why every school in America should have a police officer present.
As teachers in some states train for the worst, current and former lawmakers have never been more divided. Some arguing more guns means more death.
Gun violence kills more kids than anything else in the country. Like, what are we talking about?
If even 5% of teachers, people that are skilled with arms, we want that, 5% were voluntarily armed.